Emely Peguero was a 16-year-old from Senoví in the Dominican Republic. Emely's family weren't too well off, and they lived in a small home. Her parents did their best to support her and her 3 older siblings by working multiple jobs. Across the road is where her boyfriend lived, 19-year-old Marlon Martinez. Marlon came from a very wealthy family, and Emely often felt as though she wasn't good enough for him, viewing herself as an embarrassment and a burden to his family. Despite living only a stone's throw away, they lived very different lives. The couple knew each other from when they were younger and got together when Emely was 15 and Marlon 18. The age of consent in the Dominican Republic is 18, yet Emely's parents gave their blessings to the relationship. In 2017, when Emely was just 15, she discovered she was pregnant with Marlon's child, and in the Dominican Republic, abortion is illegal. Emely and her family were also Catholic and took the religion very seriously, so having an abortion was almost out of the question. She also knew that having an illegal abortion could lead to some serious repercussions with the law, or even worse, kill her. Emely confided with her mother and told her about the unplanned and illegal pregnancy, and told her that she wished to keep the baby. Marlon's mother was a woman named Marlene. She was an influential member of the Dominican Revolutionary Party, and she wasn't very keen on her son becoming a father with a young and poor girl. On the 23rd of August 2017, Emely was 16, and by this point, she was 5 months pregnant. At around 8:30 AM, she had met with Marlon. He had picked her up to take her to a medical examination and a routine checkup. Later on in the day, her family and friends noticed that she had stopped replying to messages and wasn't answering her phone calls. This behaviour was very out of the ordinary. Emely's mother became concerned as the hours passed by with no word from her daughter, so she made a call to Marlon. Marlon answered the phone and told Emely's mother that she had requested to be left at a gas station, and that once she was there, she would take a motorcycle and leave it at the healthcare centre, and that this was the last time he had seen or heard from her. Emely's mother found this rather strange, so she went to the gas station and asked if she could see the CCTV footage. There was no sign of Emely on the footage during the time period that Marlon claimed to have dropped her off. Upon learning this, Emely's mother reported her missing to the authorities. Suspicion naturally fell on Marlon, as he was the last person to see her. The following day, on the 24th of August, there was still no sign of Emely. Emely's mother told the media that she suspected Marlon and his mother knew where her daughter was, and speculated that they had taken her to get an illegal abortion. She was very aware that Marlene looked down on her family. On the same day, Marlon and Marlene held a press conference in their home. During the press conference, Marlon held his head in his hands and kept looking at the floor. He told the reporters, "We've had problems, but problems are all too common to couples. We accepted her pregnancy. We said we'd continue forward. I want to make a public announcement. Emely, no matter where you are, please, we are waiting for you with open arms." And his mother Marlene said, "She was already a part of us, and she was my son's girlfriend." A reporter then pointed out that Marlene had said was and not is. She then corrected herself and said is the girlfriend of my son. She was 5 months pregnant when we found out, and we gave her our support. Wherever you are, Emely, don't make us suffer anymore. When the footage of the press conference was shared on YouTube, the viewers noticed something very strange. Marlene had spoken about Emely in the past tense. I know my audience are true crime fans, so I'm guessing many of you picked up on this language. In these kinds of situations, it's usually a telltale sign that the person knows something about the fate of the missing person if they refer to them in the past tense. Suspicion only grew following the press conference. People wanted to know why they kept referring to Emely in the past tense and why Marlon was looking at the ground. They wanted to know why all the classic signs of guilt were there. On the 26th, Marlon was taken into custody, as he was seen as the prime suspect. And then 2 days later, the police made a chilling discovery. Using the geolocation of Emely's phone, they triangulated the phone to an apartment owned by Marlon's mother, and there, they found a bloody mattress and bloody towels. This gave credibility to the theory that Emely had been taken for an abortion. Then, a security guard at the apartment complex where the mobile phone was triangulated came forward, stating that he had seen Marlon carrying a sack out of the building and then putting the sack into the back of a car. He went on to say that Marlon's mother had asked to see the security footage. The security guard complied and gave her access to the footage room. He then said that when she saw some of the footage, she put her head in her hands and began to scream. Later on that day, the footage mysteriously vanished. The same day the security guard spoke to the police, Marlon's mother handed herself in to the authorities. She stated that she was doing this to aid the police in their investigation and that she was not an accomplice to anything. Once hearing about the security guard coming forward, Marlon realised that the evidence was piling up against him. So later on that very day, he made a confession to the police and told them that he had indeed killed Emely. He told the police the location and said that if they were to take him there, he would show them where the body was. The police escorted Marlon to the location and he stayed in the car while the police searched. After a number of hours, the police gave up. They couldn't find the body anywhere. They did, however, discover the bodies of 2 other 18-year-old women who had been murdered. The following day, on the 31st of August, news broke of an abandoned suitcase that had been discovered by the side of the road about an hour drive from Senov. Inside was Emely's decomposing body. Fetal remains were found inside her body, and her uterus had been punctured, leading to internal bleeding. It also appeared that she had suffered blunt strikes to the head. Marlon was charged with the murder of Emely, and what happened was soon revealed. Marlon had of course lied about taking Emely to the gas station on the day she went missing. He had actually taken her to the apartment where they later found blood. He then forced Emely to consume an unknown liquid. The liquid was supposed to induce an abortion, but things didn't go as planned. Marlon then inserted a sharp object inside her genitals in an attempt to kill the unborn baby, resulting in her uterus being punctured and serious internal bleeding. But this wouldn't be the thing that killed her. Realizing what he had done and knowing that assisting in the abortion would lead to time in jail and shame upon his family, Marlon struck Emely over the head 2 times, causing a brain hemorrhage and ending her life. After he killed her, he placed her body inside a bag and then into the back of his car. He then drove to a bridge and threw her body over the side. Marlon then called his mother and told her what he had done and asked for some help. He then made his way to his mother's house where the two sat together and planned how to dispose of Emely's body. Marlene had also contacted her brother Henry. Henry arrived at the home too, along with a friend Simone Urena. Marlene paid them a total of 100,000 pesos to assist in the cover-up. Marlon collected Emely's body from under the bridge, placed her inside a suitcase, and travelled an hour out of Senov to dump her body on the side of a road. She was then found on the 31st of August. The trial began in June of 2018. Marlon and his lawyer argued that he was not guilty of murder, putting forward a case that he had merely been involved in Emely's abortion procedure and that her death was a total accident. Messages were shown in court that she had consented to the abortion, although these messages are thought to have been faked by Marlon. During the trial, Emely's father was arrested as he had tried to seek his own justice for his daughter. He was caught trying to carry a gun into the courtroom. The prosecution team aimed for a sentence of 30 years for Marlon and 20 years for his mother Marlene for assisting in the cover-up. Members of the public were outraged by the case, and they especially despised Marlene. She was made to wear protective armor and had armed guards surrounding her whenever she was moved, as the public threw rocks at her at any chance they got. The judge terminated the case against Henry and Simone, who were accused of helping to hide the body. Marlon was sentenced to 30 years in jail for killing Emely, and his mother Marlene was only sentenced to 5. They were also ordered to pay the equivalent of $200,000 each to the family of Emely. Dominicans were furious about the lenient sentence handed down to Marlene for her role in the murder of her son's pregnant underage girlfriend. As a result, they began rioting in the streets. Civilians launched objects at the military and national police officers, who responded with tear gas and fired warning shots into the air. Emely's parents were of course outraged too by the lenient sentence given to Marlene. In their eyes, Marlene is just as, if not more responsible, as they believe her to be an evil, manipulative woman who didn't want her son to have a baby with a poor girl. Marlene's sentence was changed from 5 years to 2 years, and as of now, she is out of jail and free. Among the 25 countries with the highest rates of femicide in the world, 14 are from Latin American countries and the Caribbean. And disturbingly, a large number of the women killed showed clear signs of torture. The tragic and brutal murder of Emely is sadly one of many in the region. The fact they found the bodies of 2 other women when trying to find Emely highlights a very important issue.